Okay, Doctor Who. William Hartnell. Back to the notes. Back to Spoiler Town. I left off halfway through the 2-episode story of The Edge of Destruction. Okay. Barbara runs to help Ian. The doctor tells her that Ian tried to strangle him. Barbara tells the doctor that Ian has fainted. The doctor says, "Oh, he's play acting." Barbara tells the doctor, "Something terrible is happening to all of us." The doctor says, "Not to me. Nothing's happened to me. This is a plot between the two of you to get control of my ship. Can't you see I've found you out? Why won't you admit it?" Susan joins them and says, "Yes, why don't you? You've been behaving very strangely." And I thought this was very funny, coming from her, who was swinging scissors around at people. She was the one acting strangely, Susan. Susan with the scissors. Okay. Barbara says, "I swear we haven't done anything." Barbara goes to Ian, who's still on the floor, and tries to wake him up. The doctor says, "Your little trick endangered our lives." Ian sits up and says, "Don't touch it, doctor." Susan says, "Grandfather, they couldn't have done all the things that happened." The doctor says, "I wouldn't have allowed them to hurt you, child. They're very resourceful and cunning. And it only leaves me one recourse. They must be put off the ship." Susan says, "No, you can't do that." The doctor says, "I can and I must." Susan says, "You've no means of telling what's out there. There may be no air, it may be freezing, it may be too hot to exist." The doctor tells Barbara, "Put yourself in my place, young lady, and you'd do precisely the same thing." The doctor looks down at Ian and says, "You're getting off the ship, Chesterton. Get up." Susan tells the doctor, "I won't let you do this." The doctor says, "If, of course, they'd like to confess to me what they have done to my ship, I may even change my mind." Suddenly, an alarm blares and goes off. Susan says that was the danger signal. The doctor says, "The fault locator." Ian struggles with Barbara. He says, "The controls are alive." The doctor tells Barbara, "You mustn't be frightened of me. I've just realized the danger we're in. If one small piece of apparatus fails, a little bulb illuminates and tells me precisely where the fault is. Can you imagine what would happen if the whole of it lights up?" "It means that the ship is on the point of disintegration. You're not to blame. All four of us are to blame." Ian fully recovers and tells the doctor, "I told you not to go near the control column. I told you you'll electrocute yourself." The doctor says, "I'm afraid I must have misjudged you both. All four of us must work closely together. We must find out where we are and what is happening to my ship. There's a strong force at work somewhere which is threatening my ship. It's so strong that every piece of equipment can be out of action at the same time. We haven't crash-landed, otherwise I would have discovered that immediately. And I don't believe there's an evil intelligence in the ship. Just at the same token, I don't really believe that either of you have been the cause of this trouble. The TARDIS shakes periodically, several times. The doctor says, I know. I said it would take the force of a total solar system to attract the power away from my ship. We're at the very beginning. The new start of a solar system. Outside, the atoms are rushing towards each other, fusing, coagulating, until minute little collections of matter are created. And so the process goes on until dust is formed. Dust then becomes solid entity, a new birth of a sun and its planets. Ian asks the doctor, where did you ask the machine to take us? The doctor says, I had hoped to reach your planet Earth. I used the fast return switch. Ian says, you've sent us back too far. Ian tells the doctor to show him the fast return switch. The doctor notices that the switch is stuck. It hasn't released itself. He fixes the switch and the TARDIS lights up. Problem solved. The doctor says we can all relax. We're quite safe now. But it was a narrow squeak. Susan asks her grandfather what happened. He tells her it was the switch. It was still in place. You see, there's a little spring inside it, and it was stuck. Susan asks, why didn't the fault locator tell us? The doctor says, well, the switch hadn't broken down. Therefore, the fault locator couldn't give us any recognition. Susan tells her grandfather that he said some terrible things. He said some terrible things to Ian and Barbara. When I thought Ian was going to attack you, even I was against him, says Susan. Ian tells the doctor, don't bother to say anything. There are times when I can read every thought on your face. The doctor tells Ian, and I always thought that you were a young man without any recrimination in you. The doctor tells Barbara, well, as far as you, young lady, well, you were absolutely right. It was your instinct and intuition against my logic, and you succeeded. Barbara tries to speak, but just leaves the control room. The doctor tells Ian, you know, I really believe I have underestimated that young lady in the past. Barbara. The doctor goes to Barbara. He says, you haven't forgiven me, have you? Yes, I suppose it's the injustice that's upsetting you. And when I made a threat to put you off the ship, it must have affected you very deeply. Yeah, I suppose so. I would have been affected very deeply as well. Barbara asks, what do you care what I think or feel? The doctor says, well, as we learn about each other, so we learn about ourselves. Because I accused you unjustly, you were determined to prove me wrong. We must look after you, you know, you're very valuable. What did I think? Ah, that's it. The doctor tells Barbara that she's very valuable. Okay. Well, that was nice. All right. What did I think of The Edge of Destruction? It's one of my favorites for William Hartnell for Doctor Who. Okay. I liked that it was different from the usual episode. It was a unique story. Before I was commenting on the incidental music. Yeah. On the back of the DVD, it says the incidental music was by Tristram Cary for the Daleks, but then I was making the assumption that the incidental music was also by Tristram Cary for The Edge of Destruction, but it doesn't specifically say anyone for the incidental music for The Edge of Destruction on the back of the DVD. Yeah. And then I was thinking, well, wait a second. Was there no music at all in that one? Maybe that's why I didn't say specifically who did the incidental music for The Edge of Destruction, because there wasn't any music. If that's the case, that's another thing that made it unique, that story. I'm not remembering any music at all. Nothing's coming to mind. Maybe because they were doing it quickly, they didn't have time or money to spend on it. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's mentioned in the special features where they didn't have a lot of money for this episode, this story, this two episode story. Okay. All right, back to what I thought of the Edge of Destruction. Okay, it was a unique story. There were no alien threats, nothing historical. Yeah, I think before when I was talking about the in an unearthly child, and I was saying how I'm interested in cavemen, the historical part of it. Just it's I'm curious about the past in general, and I was saying how I I like history, but I part of the reason why I didn't really enjoy the caveman episodes as much as the first episode of An Unearthly Child was because uh, I like history, but not so much in Doctor Who. I didn't mean to imply I don't like historical episodes of Doctor Who. Um, it's just a preference. The, mm, some historical episodes are okay in Doctor Who. Uh, I like history, but it seems like in general it's more interesting, in my opinion, in the the time travel episodes when he's going to the future, or not even time travel, just going into space to other planets. I find that more interesting. I have a preference to that, I think. But it's nice to see the the stories or episodes when the Doctor uses the TARDIS to go back in time as well. I didn't mean to imply that I don't like them. It's just a preference. I prefer space and aliens, and the sci-fi aspect of going into the future. Okay, but yeah, that's definitely something that made this story unique. The Edge of Destruction. There was no alien threats and nothing historical about it. It was just a story on the in the inside the TARDIS, which involved drama and suspicion and mystery and conflict with the main characters of Doctor Who. And the season, the scene, and the scene with Susan, and the scene with Susan and the scissors. Wow. The scene with Susan and the scissors was memorable because it was scary. It was kind of, when I first saw it, I was kind of shocked by it, how scary it was, how Susan was behaving very threatening toward Ian, and I think Barbara too, with those sharp scissors. And I think in the special features, the producer Verity Lambert uh, regretted allowing that scene in the Edge of Destruction with the sharp scissors, because it was a household object, and Verity felt that it was not appropriate for children because they could imitate it using the scissors in a threatening way at home. But it was entertaining. I don't know if entertaining is the right word for that. Entertaining. Well, it was shocking. It made for a good effect for the drama, the suspense of the story. Okay, also it was funny that the solution at the end of the story was so simple to fix, with the fast return switch being stuck with the spring and all that. It's funny that after all of that, funny, not ha ha funny, but funny that it was very serious what was going on in the story, but all they had to do was that fast return switch to fix that. It was just such an easy fix. Okay,